Okay. So, Aniwula.
Nah.
Nah.
Tibira.
Kombani.
Tokombe Wula.
Takambe Wula.
Tokomali
Alafi.
Yingbe Wula.
Yang Wula.
Alafi.
Mal Alafi.
Yes, whoever said Ying Beula, you're not going to repeat what I said. It's Ying Ma. And you're asking me how's my family doing, and anyway, I'll get into that part later. You don't really do that, but anyway, let me say. So for those of you who work today, Tuma Beula. Tuma Beula.
Well, I didn't work today.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mbo de Villa. Okay, so hope everybody is having a good day. Whether you had to work or you didn't have to work, the day is going great. You got a chance to get out and enjoy yourself and rest and blah, 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 all of that stuff. So I hope today was very productive for you in a nutshell. So now, what we got today. So I'm going to all the classes, and something came to me the other day. Actually, yesterday before my 6:30 class on yesterday. And what I have noticed and what has come to me is that one of the things that is vital for you to be able to move forward in this process, it's actually vital for life, period, is to get to a place in your life where you are self-aware. And self-awareness is vital. When I say it's vital, it is vital for you to live a life that works. And a lot of times we think that we're self-aware. Hold on one second. Okay. A lot of times we think that we're self-aware, but we may not be as self-aware as we think we are. Sometimes you can get into the trap of being self-aware. So that's a trap also. So what self-awareness means is to be able to walk through life, being aware of your inner being, being aware of your surroundings, being aware of the people around you. And it's being present in life. And being self-aware also means being with life how it is and being with life how it isn't. And so many of us have difficulties, especially being with life how it is and how it isn't. And so I'll give you an example. And this is how some of this came up, just me divining and just having conversations with some of the students over the past, I say, couple of weeks or so. This has really come up. And one of the things that triggered all of this is we'll do rituals. Either I'll do a ritual for someone or I give them a yara to do a ritual. And during that process, someone can be getting results or not within whatever period of time that exists. So just say for the people who are getting results, and then all of a sudden something happens which may occur to go against the results that you're getting. Because we're not being self-aware, there's another thing that exists that's driving how self-aware you are. And the thing that drives your self-awareness, this is for everybody. The thing that drives your self-awareness are your expectations. Those are the things that drive it. And that will determine whether you're self-aware or you're not, whether you're present or you're not. That determines all of it. Because we're trained like cattle, we're domesticated, we're taught to have expectations and to build the very foundation of our lives on expectations. And there's nothing wrong with the expectation, there's nothing right with an expectation. But when your existence is built on an expectation, that is the thing that determines your self-awareness. Because an expectation is nothing but a fantasy. An expectation is something that is not existing or not happening in the moment, or it's something that hasn't happened, possibly. Sometimes expectations do fulfill themselves. But an expectation is not something that's happening. It's not. That's why you're expecting it to happen. So you will make up a result that you want. And then you'll make up how that result plays itself out. And because we live in that fantasy called expectation, because of that expectation, or better said, the true nature of that expectation is for it to go unfulfilled. Like that is the root, that is the nature of it. In the very moment that your expectation or your fantasy goes unfulfilled, the very moment that happens, let me get rid of that clear. Okay, the very moment that expectation goes unfulfilled, the only thing you're left with is disappointment, upset, sometimes frustration. For some people, they become angry. You may build some discontent around something. There's something that happens that triggers an emotion. And the thing that triggers the emotion is the expectation not being fulfilled, because it's all a fantasy. It's all made up. And there's nothing, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with an expectation, but just imagine what it would be like living your life without expectations. Imagine what that would be like for you. For many of us, we don't know. For most of us, we can't imagine being in any situation at all in life without an expectation. So much so, we don't even think about the expectation that we create. We just create the expectation and live life, and either it fulfills itself or it doesn't, but the nature of it is for it not to go, it's for it to be unfulfilled. It's for it not to be fulfilled. And the thing for most of us that determines our self-awareness is how that expectation is playing out. If it's playing out to our liking, yeah, we can be very self-aware, because everything that's happening is favorable. But the moment it's not fulfilled, we leave self-awareness. If we're even in that state, because some of us never get there, we leave that state if you ever get there. And we go into like this emotional state. And by the way, emotions are made up also. Those are made up. And then we're left with this expectation, or the result of the expectation upset me. But we can't put our hands on the expectation to be really upset at the expectation. So we will become upset with the people involved in the expectation not being fulfilled and lash out at them, and we don't lash out at this fantasy that we have. I hope I'm making sense to you all. So we live our lives as a big ball of emotions. And we have all this stuff going on about these attachments we have to these expectations. And we never afford ourselves an opportunity to be present. We never afford ourselves an opportunity to actually be self-aware. Because when you're self-aware, you have no need for an expectation at all. When you're self-aware, you're never at the mercy of life. Life is at the mercy of you. Because the moment that your expectation goes unfulfilled, you become at the mercy of that unfulfillment, or you become you're at the mercy of life, and you become like a rag doll. Very unaware, very present. Because the first thing that we're taught is if things don't work out, it's somebody's fault. Some of us blame other people. Some of us beat ourselves up, blame ourselves. And some of you will even go so far as to call yourself a failure, and not understanding that it is virtually impossible for you to fail. That's not even remotely possible for anybody to fail anything, period. And I dare someone to show me someone who's actually a failure. You can't, because that person doesn't exist. The only thing that happened is whatever you attempted to fulfill upon or to bring into existence, that thing failed. That thing didn't work, whatever that is. You didn't fail. That's impossible for you to fail. Just whatever you attempted didn't work out. But we will say in language like, I failed at creating a successful business 10 times. No, you didn't fail. Just your attempts to create a business didn't work 10 times. That's all that happened. 10 times it just didn't work. But because of the lack of awareness, we will trap ourselves. I'm just using failure as an example. We'll trap ourselves in failure. And that'll cut off our existence. We'll kill ourselves off, kill other people off. And that's the same thing with relationships, whether it's romantic or family or friends, it doesn't matter. When those things don't work, you didn't fail, just your relationship just didn't work. Just not working with your brother, your sister, your significant other, or your best friend. That's the only thing that's not working. But if we can view it from that perspective, that's where the power is. That's where you can actually make a choice to do something that will make a difference. But when you're not self-aware, you're angry, you're upset. I've heard people call themselves stupid. I've never said that about me. I can never remember telling myself stupid because something didn't work. I just always viewed it as this just didn't work. Let's move on to whatever's next or do something different to have it work. That's it. And being self-aware, it takes something to be self-aware. Being self-aware is certainly not for the faint of heart. Because being self-aware means that you have to deal with the reality of life, not the fantasy of it. Being self-aware means that you have to be responsible, you have to be accountable for all of it. Being self-aware means that everything that you experience, everything that happens in life, you are 100% responsible for it. Which is a distinction from being at fault. We collapse the two and think both of them are the same, but they're different. Even if we say they're different, our actions will show that we collapse them. If you walk out your house today, go to the grocery store, and you get into an argument with the cashier, the cashier could have just called you stupid. And you all get in an argument, and whatever happens after that, it happens. Police is called and blah, blah, blah. And you won't get that you are 100% responsible for everything that happened. However, the cashier will be 100% responsible for what happened also, plus at fault. The thing that makes you 100% responsible is that you chose to leave your house at the time you left your house. Nobody else chose that. You chose the route you took. You chose to park in whatever parking space you chose in. You chose to walk into the store. Well, you chose to do everything. You chose to go to that particular cashier for whatever reason. All these are choices that you made. So you're responsible for all of that. And then the cashier is responsible for calling you stupid or whatever. And then you're responsible for how you react, blah, blah, blah. You're responsible for all, 100% you're responsible. Cashier is 100%. And the cashier is at fault. But we don't choose to be self-aware on that level. That's a whole nother level of self-awareness. It's being responsible. And that's a totally different place to look. It's a totally different place to exist. It's there. But when you are truly self-aware, you can see and you can accept the fact that you are responsible for everything that occurs in your life based upon the choices that you make that leads up to a series of events. You're responsible. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to work on being self-aware. We're gonna go to work on being in a space where you have zero expectations. So I'll give you an example of like what it may look like to be self-aware, to have zero expectations. Because I have zero expectations as I go through my day, I'm not triggered if something doesn't work. And you can begin to look at when you become triggered, what expectation that you had that did not go fulfilled. There is an expectation that didn't go fulfilled. 99% of the time that people get upset or they get triggered or in some kind of way, it's due to an expectation that was not fulfilled. That's why. So think about it. Like I like to look at the most basic things. Look at traffic. Like one of my favorite examples is traffic. When you're in traffic, there's an expectation that you have that you're going to get to your destination. And it's an expectation that's not even stated. It's an unimplied expectation. And you are expecting to get there with no issues. Another expectation. Because in your mind, when you say, I am going to go to my friend's house, or I'm going to go to work, and when you do that, the moment, the first thing your brain does is it actually creates the whole process of getting to work or getting wherever you're going to go. It does it really quickly. That's just how our brains work. The route, everything. But what your brain does not do and what you don't do is insert the unexpected. You don't insert, somebody's going to cut me off. You don't do that. There's going to be an accident. Nah, you don't do that. What you do is you plot out the route. And you may say it's going to be traffic. That's why I didn't, because you know what time traffic is. That is why when you're in traffic, for many people, and something happens that violates that expectation, you react. Because your fantasy is not being played out the way that you laid it out in your mind. It happens automatically, quick. That's why you will get on the horn and bah, 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 bah. If somebody gets over and doesn't turn a blinker on, or if somebody turns their blinker on and you speed up, that's all you not being self-aware, and it's all about your expectation not being fulfilled. Because if that person gets in front of you, that violates that expectation. It nullifies it. It interrupts it. That's the only reason that happens. So your day has already started out in a mess because your day has already started out being unfulfilled. And some of y'all will say, ooh, I hope my day gets better. But if you think about what caused you to say, I hope my day gets better, if you really think about it, you will see the insanity of it. This person cut me off. This person didn't turn their blinker on. There's an accident, blah, blah, blah. That is, if you think about it, those are the things that will take you out for the day. And we take it, when we have that expectation that doesn't go fulfilled, we take it personally. It ain't nothing, it ain't personal. I promise you it's not. That person didn't get over just to cut you off. It didn't matter who was in that space. They would have got over. For whatever reason they got over. It's not personal. But they violated your expectation. And you'll sigh. Some of y'all won't get on the horn, but you'll sigh. It's no different than blowing the horn because the emotion is there. You're still triggered. It's no different if you're the person who's getting over and the person next to you speeds up. So you can't get over. And you get pissy. Guess what? You have two people who are pissy because their expectations were just foiled. Your expectation was to get over. No problem. You didn't say somebody's going to speed up. You didn't say somebody's not going to let me in. You didn't, promise you didn't say that to yourself. Well, let me turn my blinker on. Click, 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 and slide over. The expectation is the thing that triggers you. It's the fantasy. No different than those of you who are in class, you had an expectation of being in class at whatever time you got on. Some of y'all just got on, the expectation didn't work out. You got in late, you planned to get in one time, but you just didn't make it. But nevertheless, there's an expectation. But think about when you come to get your shrines, this is the example I'm gonna give you. When you come to make your shrine, just as shrine day works out, I get up about 5:30 or so in the morning, get myself together, go to my shrine room, do a ritual, go to the farm, meet everybody there, get the chickens, come back, go to my shrine room, do another ritual, go back in the back, start the rituals for creating the shrines. Sometimes it takes people 30 minutes, sometimes it'll take 2 hours to create the shrine, depending upon what happens. Day is long. And that time I'll get up at 5:30. Like the last time we created shrines, I didn't go at 5:30 Saturday morning. I didn't go to bed until 4 a.m. Sunday morning. Did not finish creating the last shrine until about 2:45, something like that. Was I bothered by that? No. Didn't bother. I had nothing going on about that. I was jumping around, cracking jokes, dancing, doing the same thing I was doing when I started creating the shrine, whatever time I started doing the first shrine. And this last time we created shrines, it rained pretty much all day. Not like a drizzle, it was coming down. And according to the weather report, it wasn't supposed to rain until like 1 p.m. or something like that. But by the time we got to the farm at 8 a.m., it was coming down. Some of the Kareems were there who were on the call. It was coming. It wasn't a light rain. It was heavy. Was I triggered by the rain? Nah. I wasn't, because I had zero expectations. Zero. Everybody got soaked. I was soaked from head to toe because we needed to get these chickens, get back and, do what we need to do. Was I upset because I was soaked from head to toe? Nope. Was I upset because like my car was gonna be wet from head? No. Because I had zero expectations. The only thing I had was a plan. I wasn't attached to it. I knew what needed to be accomplished for the day. I knew the end goal was to make sure that however many shrines we needed to create, those I fulfilled upon that. And how that got fulfilled upon is just what happened. And because my level of self-awareness, the rain didn't bother me. Even when I was doing the rituals, it was coming down. I was like, it's just coming down. I was like, well, we're going to do it in the rain or shine. Didn't matter to me. Now, after I finished the last shrine, was I glad that was the last shrine? Yeah. Absolutely. But it didn't impact, I wasn't triggered. It didn't impact me emotionally. I was more so glad because I was like, man, I know these people probably want to go home. I was thinking about the Kareems. I was thinking about the other students who were sitting here because half of them would like lean over, tongue hanging out their mouth, sleeping, whatever they're doing. They were tired. I was more so concerned about them than anything else. But to be able to live your life with no expectations and being self-aware has you be one of the most powerful people on the planet. And we talk about power. And all of this ties into the work that we're doing. Because when you are self-aware and your ancestors are talking to you, you're able to hear the totality of the message. It's a totally different way that you hear the message. You hear all of it and not a part of it, which you think is all, but there's more. And the message what I mean by the totality of the message and being present is that level of connectedness is unprecedented. You will be able to know that something is coming, whether it's favorable or not, but just say something that may be unfavorable. And you will be able to see when it's coming. And you can take an action around that. So I'll give you an example. By about a month and a half ago, 2 months, something like that. I don't know the exact date. I had gone to my shrines in the morning like I usually do. And I was just, lighting candles. I get prepped to do divinations. So I went in there talking about how I wanted my day to go for the divinations, blah, 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 all of that stuff. And when I was lighting the white candles, something said, oh, there's going to be some significant financial issues coming. And I was like, oh, is that right? And it said, yeah, in about a month or so, about whatever. It actually told me when. I heard all of it. It was clear because I'm present. I'm very aware. And then I immediately heard, this is what you need to do. Not to avoid it, but to minimize the impact and make sure that there's no impact on me. I didn't know what was going to happen. I really didn't care. As long as I knew what the solution was. And so there was a series of events that happened. Everything from a car getting broken into, busting out the windows, ching ching, expense. My car was working one day, got up in the morning, pressed the button to start, nothing. Not even a click, click. Nothing. And I'm gonna say chi-ching about 10 times. Chicka, 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 ching, ching, ching. And then just these things kept happening. But I never got to a place of desperation, never got to a place of like, God, why is this happening? I need to, never. Because I heard the message, the totality of the message. This is going to happen, and this is when it's going to happen, and this is what you need to do to resolve the issue. All I did was do rituals over the course of, I think I did 3 times, I think. Yeah, something like that. And during the course where these events were taking place, it's not like something happened and financially the money was replaced. It wasn't like, one-to-one relationship. Take that, here you go, get it back. Nah. All of my bills, no, not all. 90% of my bills for the month I pay between the 1st of the month and the 6th. That's how I have it set up. When it was time to pay bills, I had no money. 0. None. '27th came, 28th, 29th, 30th, July 1st, 2nd. Within a 24-hour period, it was just an influx. But even up to that point, I was never rocked. Because I knew that I got the message. This is why it's so important to be self-aware. Because when you're self-aware, you can be present to the fact that the issue that you have gotten is already been resolved. I was very aware, oh yeah, I knew this was gonna happen. I didn't know how it was gonna happen, so I didn't know it was gonna happen the way it played out. But I was clear, like, okay, this is the message I got, so this financial thing is happening. And I did a ritual for it based upon the directives that I got. So it's nothing for me to worry about. Because I was very well aware that during that process, nothing was happening outside of car getting broken into, this happened, all these other things were happening. That's the only thing that was happening. But I wasn't behind on bills. I wasn't getting phone calls from creditors. None of that stuff was happening. But if you're not self-aware, you will be in a space and your whole way of being will be as though you're behind on your bills. As though your phone is ringing off the hook with people who want their money. Your whole way of being will be around that. And it could only be like the 15th of the month, the middle, and everything is due at the end. Because you're not being self-aware, you're not present. And so your life is easier doing traditional work when you're self-aware. Because you know that, oh, I've done this ritual. As a matter of fact, I can see evidence of it working. But people will get thrown off their game because the evidence that they see, they're like, oh, they're fine with that. But the moment something occurs that is not in alignment with the evidence they've seen, they get thrown off. And I know they get thrown off because they call me or they'll call for a divination. Something happens. And I can't always tell you how it's going to work out. I will hear, oh, it's going to work out. Everything's going to be fine. I hear that all the time. And sometimes I can see, okay, this is this. Sometimes I don't see it. So being able to live your life being self-aware, being able to live your life being void of expectations is powerful. I promise you, the people who walk around with attitudes all the time, they're just walking around. There's a big ball of unfulfilled expectations. Promise you, most of the people, that's the problem. Some people, they got other stuff going on. But for the most part, there's a bunch of unfulfilled expectations. And we live our whole life around that. We run around and don't trust people. We run all this stuff because the expectation wasn't fulfilled. And so the thing to do is we're gonna spend some time on this because this is very important. Is to begin to be in the inquiry of your own life. Begin to be in wonderment of your own life. And to really, like when I say be in wonderment, be curiously engaged with your life. Because what we want at the end of the day is for you not to be at the mercy of life. Because the moment you get triggered and the expectation is not fulfilled, you're at the mercy of life. It doesn't matter if someone has come to you and they've said, but no, it's actually not that bad. Look at this. Oh no, it's the end of the world. They will point to the things that have worked and that are working and that can show you, well, this is going to work out. But you get so caught, or we get so caught up in that fantasy, so caught up in the emotions, we can't even see that stuff. I promise you, you all have done that to other people, and other people have done that to you. And just think about the people who just had a total breakdown, and you're looking like, whoa, wait, that's not that bad. I mean, that's not what really happened. This is actually what happened. It's not. Think about that. And you can see it, but you can't see your own stuff. Because you're at the mercy of life. That's why you can't see it. And some of us will just go and mess it up even worse because we'll go out and try to fix something that don't need to be fixed. And then just mess the whole thing up. And many of us will fix it by quitting. That's how we'll fix it. Regardless of how much success led up to this point where this expectation, this piece of the expectation wasn't fulfilled, we'll quit. But when you're self-aware, you know when to walk away, when to stay. It's simple. And so in all of that, think about how many times things like that have happened and you have quit on yourself. We do it all the time. I have students who've had their shrines for 2 years. Matter of fact, one just called me. When did I go to Florida? Talked to him about a week and a half ago, almost 2 weeks ago. Asking me, what are the instructions for getting rid of their shrine? They wanted to dump it. They were done. Because they said this shrine ain't working. This is not the first time I've had this conversation. This wasn't new. This shrine wasn't working. And they don't want to deal with their ancestors no more. Their life is worse than it was. Blah, all this whole thing. They were ready to kick the shrine to the curb. Now, mind you, this person will go 6 months. I won't hear a word, or if I do, they're just gleaming. Oh my God, my ancestors are so great. They're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Blah, blah, praise. Just so grateful. Because the expectations are being fulfilled. And the very moment an expectation is not fulfilled, I get a phone call, text message. Never fails. Never fails. Because the expectation goes unfulfilled. And it will be, the conversation is, I've been going to my shrine, going to my ancestors on this issue, and nothing has moved. I'm just sick of them. Matter of fact, this student broke their shrine because they started banging on it hard because they were pissed because what they had gone to their ancestors for, the ancestors were working, but this stuff needs to be worked out. They're not self-aware. And their conversation with me is always, they have never, ever worked for me. They always let me down. They're so not self-aware, they don't even remember all the stuff that's happened. All the times they called me, think, oh God, Chief, I'm so thankful, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, I did this for my grandmother, my mother, all this stuff. And you will be at the mercy of life. When that happens, that particular student is at the mercy of life. And that's not the only one. That's about 2 that I deal with on a regular basis like that. And some of you may say, well, dang, I wouldn't take the call or something. They call all the time. But because I have nothing going on with nothing. You can call me about the same issue 20 times. I promise you, I'm going to address it the same way. I'm not going to have nothing going on about nothing. 0. Because I'm very clear that, this particular student is just upset. They're in their emotions. There's an expectation that didn't go fulfilled. So why would I have an expectation of them? I have none. And I sit there and we'll talk for an hour. In my conversation with her, I don't try to convince nothing. If you ever call me about your shrine, I promise you, I'm not gonna convince you to keep the shrine. I'm not gonna do that unless I get a message like, okay, you need to tell me to keep it. But I've never gotten that message for anybody. You call me, I will say, this is how you dispose of it. There's a proper way to do it. And this is how you do it. I will give you those instructions. And that's it. For me, that's the end of the conversation. Nothing going on with that. 0. Because I'm clear, you're just making a choice. If you choose to get rid of it, I give the instructions. And then, this particular student is like, okay, well, what if later I want another shrine? I said, well, you just have to go through the process. I said, there's some things we need to do, which will be a little different than what you did the first time. But yeah, we can get another shrine. Absolutely. I said, we have to check to make sure your ancestors want to deal with you. That's the first thing we need to do. And they may or may not. It's simple. If they don't want to deal with you, then you just won't get a shrine. It's what it is. But you have to be, I don't know how much I can just stress, like being self-aware. Ooh, that's the most important thing. It's like when my car was broken into, my brother saw it first. I was in the bed. It was early. He was leaving to go wherever he was going, I don't know. He came back in. He was like, T, somebody broke in your car. Your window smashed. Da, 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 da. I said, oh, okay. It took me about 15, 20 minutes to get outside. I was in the bed. Shoot. I was laid there. I wouldn't think about that. I said, let me get up and see what's going on. I got up, looked out. I said, oh, okay. I just picked up the phone, called the police, and pretty much went back in the house. Because I was very clear what had been done was done. So why am I going to go out in a panic and in a rush Don't make sense. It's crazy. Because when you're self-aware, you're clear about what's happening. But we will behave as though somebody is actually breaking in the car and we can catch them. We'll jump up and run outside. Some people grab a gun and run outside. I'm like, ain't nobody out there breaking in the car. That's over with. Nothing, I mean, nobody out there. I knew nobody was out there. So why am I going to rush to go outside? And all I'm going to do is look at it. Yep. And call the police. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to do nothing more than that. I'm going to go try to find the assailants. No, I wasn't. No. Nope. And my brother, he was like, so you're not worried about that? I said, nah, I'm not. Why would I be worried about that? That don't make sense. I said, this is the reality of it. It's either I'm going to get it fixed or I'm not. That's the reality of it. My choices, get it fixed or not. Period. And I knew I was going to get it fixed. But it's just being self-aware is so important. That whole issue with getting that window fixed, it took a week to get the window fixed. But when I talked to people about what was happening, they got upset and triggered, and I didn't. I said, yeah, I went up to the glass repair shop, and they told me I had an appointment for whatever time, and the guy said, oh, it'll take 40 minutes. And then when I got there, they said it was going to take an hour and a half. And they were like, what'd you do? I said, well, I just rescheduled another appointment. I said, that was simple. I didn't have an hour and a half to give them. Just reschedule another appointment. It's like, you weren't upset? I was like, upset for what? If something takes an hour and a half, I don't want them to rush it and fix it in 40 minutes and do a half job. No. Take your time. So I scheduled another appointment. It's simple to me. But you have to be willing. It's a choice to be self-aware. You have to be willing to not have expectations. The only thing I had the morning I went to go get my window fixed was a plan. That's it. I said, okay, I plan to go get it fixed, but I had no expectation. I wasn't attached to it. And when it didn't work out, I just left. And the people at the auto place were more excited about it than I was. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. What can we do? I said, oh, whatever. Let's make another appointment. So yeah. Before we go any further, any questions or comments about that? What we talked about so far? Cool in the game. All right, excellent. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. Because I'm committed to people being self-aware. So I realize like that's a missing for all of us. And if we didn't do something to promote self-awareness and to promote not having expectations, then that would be irresponsible. Totally. So I'm going to give you all a ritual to do. This is what you're going to do. You need a white candle or red candle and yellow. White, red, yellow candle. 3 incense. And some white liquor. What you're going to do is you're going to do an invocation and call your ancestors. Once you call them and you've had them to come present, you all know how to do that. What you're going to do is you can stop flicking the water at that point. As a matter of fact, before you stop flicking the water, this is what you're going to say. You're going to tell them why you called them. You're going to tell them that you have called them forth because it is time for you to become self-aware. And you are soliciting their assistance with being self-aware. And that it is also time for you to rid yourself of expectations. Now, once you've done that, I want you to take the white candle. As a matter of fact, they showed me something different for you all. You want to take the white candle and 1 incense. And what you want to do is you want to pray. You want to talk to your ancestors and you want to tell them that you're giving them this white candle as an offering. To clear the pathway, or better yet, to bring about harmony on your journey to self-awareness. So you want that to be harmonious. You're also giving them this white candle to bring or to put you in a space of fulfillment. Like this whole, you want to be fulfilled on this process. And you want like this, you want the journey to be one of like, the only word they keep saying to me is ecstasy. Even when you are fighting against your self-awareness. There's going to be a fight. You know, when you're not used to being something, you will fight it. And usually it's unintentional. Because your default self always wants to prevail. Whatever your default is, always wants to be at the forefront. So you'll be fighting that. Okay. Then you can light the white candle. And then when you light the white candle, you light the incense. Now grab the red candle and one incense, in the second incense. And what you want to say is you want to tell them that you're giving them this red candle as food to strengthen them, or as an offering to strengthen them, so that they are able to fulfill upon your requests. And you can mention those requests if you want. And to also like be as a bulldozer and clear the way, clear the pathway for you to have success in becoming self-aware and ridding yourself of expectations. Okay. Now you can go ahead and light the red candle with the flame from the white candle. And then light your incense with the flame. Wait a minute, hold up. This time you're gonna light your incense with the flame from that red candle. Usually you won't do that, but they're pointing at the red candle. So you're gonna light it with the flame from the red candle. Now, move on to this yellow candle. Yellow candle is the work candle. With this yellow candle, what you want to tell them is that you're giving them this yellow candle as an offering for them to first shine the light on all of your inadequacies. And that you want them to alarm you, or to put you in positions where you are being self-aware, where you can express self-awareness, where you can be present to your self-awareness, something like that. And that when you are not being self-aware, you want them to alarm you. You want them to ring the bell, to tell you, but you want them to tell you in a way that gets your attention. Ooh. Yeah, they're showing me some of you all actually like not being self-aware. So I just saw that. That's why they're having me to give you the prayer like this. Because the prayer is different. Because the prayer is different for the other class. It's not like this one. And then you want to tell them to remove your expectations or that desire for expectations. And that when you are living in an expectation, you want them to alert you. And that's what whole self-awareness is about. And when you get triggered from an expectation that does not go fulfilled, you want them to show you that this is why you're reacting this way. But you want to tell them to have grace and mercy. However, with the grace and mercy, you want them to be relentless in their pursuit of you being self-aware and you eradicating expectations. Let me see. And that's all for that. That's all for the yellow candle. So now you can light the yellow candle with the flame from the red candle, and then light the incense with the flame from the yellow candle. And then you wanna take some liquor. And you pour it in a cup, bowl, whatever. And you want to tell them that you're giving them this liquor as an additional boost. Or as an additional incentive, something like that. To further strengthen them to fulfill upon your request, because you know that what you're asking them to do is no small feat. Because some of y'all gonna weigh y'all people out. That's why we said we want them to be relentless in their pursuit. And then once you do that, you can sit some liquor down where you light the candles and stuff. You can sit the bowl or the cup there. Okay. Now, once you do that, once a week, for 3 weeks following that, once a week, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get a white candle and a yellow candle and 2 incense. And you're gonna pray over, you can actually hold the candles and the incense in your hand. You can pray over them. And you can tell them that you're giving them these candles, this white candles, yellow candle. And you just summarize your requests. You say to further strengthen them, and as a reminder of them, or just to remind them to continue to provide you with self-awareness, or put you in a space where you can develop self-awareness, and to get you in a space where you can eradicate expectations. And then light the candles, white candle first. Then you're gonna light the yellow candle, but you're gonna light the yellow candle with the flame from the white one. And then the 2 incense, you're gonna light those 2 with the flame from the white candle. All right, any questions or comments about the ritual? This ritual, what you all are embarking on is freedom. And we say that we want freedom, but you can't have freedom without self-awareness. And you'll never be free as long as you're trapped in this cycle of expectations. Because all you are is just trapped in a cycle of emotions. You're trapped in fantasy land. Because all expectations are fantasies. They all are. They're not happening. It's what you want to happen. None of it is real. But we will organize, and we will, our way of being, and we'll organize our conversation. Everything about us will be organized as though that expectation is actually real and happening. It's not. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You talk about it and organize your life to have it be fulfilled. But how about just having a plan and no expectations? Plan don't work. It just don't work. Make a new plan. But you have to understand it's just a plan. But when it's all viewed as an expectation, generally you're not trained to create a new expectation around that. Mike, what you got?
Hey, Chief.
Yeah.
The follow-up ritual that we do for the next 3 weeks after the initial one.
Yeah.
Okay, could you repeat the purpose of that once again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't repeat the purpose. I remember I didn't even say the purpose. So what you're doing is you're doing what's called ritual maintenance.
Okay.
And you're just reminding your ancestors of what you requested of them. That's what you're doing. And so even when I do rituals for people, I do ritual maintenance. And I'll go to whatever spirit I'm using, and I'll say, I may have to give them like milk and cola nuts or something like that, and some candles, whatever. And I'll remind them of the case or what the purpose of the ritual is. And I'll remind them and say, I'm giving you this offering as a reminder to go do the work, continue to do the work until it's resolved, to be relentless. blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of other stuff I say, but that's basically what I'll say. And so it's common to do ritual maintenance. And I know a lot of times, especially those of us who come from like a Christian background, we're taught, don't repeat your prayer. Just pray once and that's it. But we still find ourselves, even with living within that paradigm of asking more than once, we still end up doing it. But within tradition, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to, but it's good. It's just like a reminder. It's like you may call somebody just to remind them of something. There's no difference at all. Somebody may call you to remind you of something. So yeah, it's just, you're just reminding them. That's it. That is it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Dalia or Nelina? I don't know which one.
Good afternoon, Chief.
Hey.
I'm just wondering, the ritual maintenance part, do we have to do this on a lot of our other rituals outside of this?
Like, what are those other rituals? On Yaras, no.
Like the cigarette ritual that you gave me, just rituals that you gave me. Should I do maintenance on that?
Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, but I intentionally didn't give maintenance on those. So
Okay.
I'll give rituals based upon where people are, and I don't like to overload people with ritual. That's how that's how I was trained.
Okay.
My elders, they didn't give me the ritual maintenance until some other time, and then they would say, okay, do this once a week. Once I mastered the rituals themselves, then they'll add on to them.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you repeat how to light the yellow candle and the incense for the last part of the ritual?
For the primary ritual or the maintenance piece?
The maintenance piece.
Oh, the maintenance.
I think it's the last part of the ritual. The primary.
Primary. Oh, okay. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take the yellow candle, light it with the flame from the red candle, and take that incense that you prayed before, that you prayed over with the yellow candle, and light the incense with the flame from the yellow candle.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief.
All right, what else y'all got? Good, everybody's clear. Now, I know that we didn't go over homework and all that stuff, but this was like pressing. It was somebody sitting on me. That's what it felt like yesterday. Like I was being pressed, and I was like, this is what you need to discuss later for homework. That's not relevant. And so this is why I don't say, like, for a class, I won't say, oh, the class is 10 weeks. Oh, the class is this. Because things like this come up. And these are the things that are unpredictable. And I do, like, I know, what I want to discuss pretty much week from week to week, how it's going to go, but I'm not attached to the time periods. Lasts as long as it lasts. Shoot. One class we had to make them do like 3 weeks worth of homework over. That did, that's how it went. So yeah. Bum, bum, bum. Santosha, what you got?
You will achieve.
Nah.
My question is, right, pertaining to the rituals, right? Are we supposed to light a specific candle on a specific day? Are we supposed to do these rituals? Because we're supposed to do the maintenance rituals for 3 weeks, right?
Yes.
And but how long are we doing the other rituals for? 3 weeks too?
No. So the initial, so when you do the initial ritual, the primary ritual, you do that once, and then you
Oh,
do
so you're lighting all the candles together.
in the primary one, yes. The first,
Okay, so you light
the
the
first
white.
one, yeah, the first one with the 3 candles, that's one ritual itself, and
Got
that's,
you.
and that's to only be done one time.
Okay, okay,
And then the following week, you're gonna do the ritual maintenance or the follow up rituals. You do those the following week, and it could be any day that you want to do it. Those of you who've taken the prayer class and you know the best times of the day to do rituals and all that stuff, you can use the prayer times to do those rituals. Those who've taken it. I don't think anybody here is taking the class. I don't think. Yep. But any day, anytime is fine.
okay, cool. Now let me see the last. Let me see the yellow kind of ritual. You were saying about awareness, right? You said, give liquor in a copper bowl an additional incentive to strengthen them in their pursuit in eradicating expectations.
Yes.
All right, cool. That's it then.
Okay. And well, for you being self-aware and eradicating expectations. Yeah. For both.
All right, thanks.
All right. You want. All right. What y'all got? Cool. This is going to be interesting for all of you, actually. And this is why I say that returning to tradition is not for the faint of heart. Because you have to deal with you. And your family at the same time. And it's not for the faint of heart. And deal with your ancestors. And when you do rituals like the one at the river and the ritual that I just gave you all, you're calling for an initiation. Because who you are today is someone who is inadequate enough to be self-aware or inadequate to not have expectations. And so you have to be reminded that this is an expectation. They're going to remind you. It's expectation. That's why you're upset. You're in traffic. You're blowing that horn. It's an expectation that's not fulfilled. And so and in doing this, you all will see just through experience that there's a distinction between not having an expectation and not having an emotion, as opposed to having an expectation and emotion comes and you just don't react. All you're doing is not reacting. The emotion is still there. You're just pushing it down. You might as well go in and blow the horn because the impact on you is the same. It's no difference. Being self-aware and having no expectation, there's zero emotion, none. There's nothing that you have to push down, because all you're doing is Jedi mind tricking yourself. You don't react because the impact on your body, the impact on your mind, the impact on your spirit is the same as it would be if you blew the horn. No difference. And some of us are experts at biting our tongues. We're pros. And we'll tell ourselves that we have self-awareness and we can control our emotions. Why do you have to control your emotions? Why not put yourself in a space where the emotions are not there? That's a better place to be, as opposed to trying to control something. Because like one of my mentors said, probably one of the most profound statements ever. And we were talking about control. And he said, you know, and this is for people who like to control stuff, but this control period. How out of control do you have to be in order to create the illusion of you being in control? And people who attempt to control things are the most out of control people in the world. But it shows up differently for everybody. But they're very out of control, attempting to control everything. There's nothing to ever control, ever. So you suppressing your reaction, because you're not suppressing an emotion, you're just suppressing the reaction to the emotion. It's still attempting to control something. Right? You don't do that. Just not have the emotion. It's a much more peaceful place to be. Because y'all know how I feel in your chest, your stomach, your gut, when you're pushing down the emotions and you really want to do something, but you're trying to control yourself, blah, blah, blah. You know how it feels. Just how about being in life and not having to do that? That's hot. That is hot. So yeah, so that's that. That's all I got. That is it. Next week, we'll pick up where we left off. I don't even know where we left off, but we'll pick up there with the homework. Oh yeah, I do. Ooh, yeah, I had a good assignment. Ooh, yeah. So this is your assignment for the week. That's your homework for the week. Is this thing here? So yeah. So just be prepared. Be prepared for your stubbornness, because if you're stubborn, believe me, you're gonna be stubborn with yourself. If you're stubborn with other people. And so just relax and allow yourself to be self-aware. You can even tell yourself that you're giving yourself permission to explore being self-aware. Because one of the things you all need to get, I'll talk about that in a second. One of the things you all need to get is that, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I saw this question and just got excited about that one. Anyway, it may come back to me, but nevertheless. So someone asked, what if you're disrespected? Disrespect is made up. That's something that's made up. And what comes along with disrespect is a host of emotions that piggyback on that, just the notion of disrespect. The only reason something is disrespectful is because someone told you that it's disrespectful. The only reason somebody said something is not disrespectful is because somebody said it's not disrespectful. You can go to Africa today and hand people stuff with your left hand. And it's viewed from their perspective as disrespectful. But from your perspective, just my left hand. You can go to Japan and other Asian countries. If you ever go into a restaurant or any shop that's run by like Japanese or even Chinese or whomever, if you notice how they hand you your money, if you notice they'll bow, like their heads will go down, they'll bow and they'll hand you a card or they'll hand you something that way. To not do that is disrespectful. That's made up. I promise you it is. And even with the person, even with the person touching your body without your permission, right? I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but it's all based upon that person's perception of what they did. If somebody touched your body, like rubbing on your, your breast, or squeeze your butt, that's a different conversation. Totally. You can come with me to Ghana anytime, in Nigeria, no matter where you go, in the places I've been and that I know about. You can be walking with someone, and it's a guy. So you walking with a friend of mine, Ayoko, for example, or Rashani, and you're walking through the market, they will grab your hand and hold it. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. They're not coming on to you. All they're doing is making sure you're safe. That's it. It's like the first time I went to Ghana, walking through the market. Those of you who've been to Africa, you go to the market, it's like your eyes are wide. You're like, wow, this is just amazing, because people are going in every direction you can imagine. And it's so colorful, and there's so many different scents and fragrances, and you smell all this stuff, and it's really very stimulating. Like it's sometimes overly stimulating, and you're just fascinated. So we're walking through the market, and the guys I was with, they're from Ghana, and so they're used to like zooming through the market, knowing how to navigate. And I'm just walking through like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, looking around like, man, this is amazing. It's like organized chaos. That's what it looked like to me. And so one of them came and he grabbed my hand and we held hands going through the market. I promise you, that was the most uncomfortable thing ever for me, to hold hands with another man. Extremely uncomfortable. Even when we walked out of the main shop areas and we walk out into a clearing, he's still holding my hand and we stand in the middle of this clearing. I'm like, I'm sweating because I'm uncomfortable, but he had nothing going on with nothing. And I figured out a way to kind of, remove my hand, because in the US, we're told that if two men are holding hands, they're gay. So that whole thing challenged my perception of like my sexuality from the way I was taught. And then the moment we went to move to another spot, guess what he did? He grabbed my hand again, and we're walking through this clearing. And so this is an amazing thing. Nobody was paying attention to me, but I thought everybody was watching me and they're thinking I'm gay. But I had to bring myself to a state of self-awareness and be present. And I was able to look around, and people minding their own business. They're going off whatever they're doing. Nobody's looking at me. That's me making all that stuff up. I made up all this stuff. That's why I could talk to you about like what's made up and what's not, because I've experienced it. Like I've done a lot of the work. We make up all kind of stuff and live like it's true. I was living my life in those moments as though people thought I was gay. Ain't nobody think that. That was me. That was my conversation with myself, about what was happening in the moment. That's all it was. But that was a huge hurdle for me to get over. So what we're taught is something that's being disrespectful or not. It was like, we were sitting there talking because, when you go to the continent and we've actually been trained, like somebody, I remember this when I was a kid, somebody told us that we have personal space. We ain't got no personal space. That's made up. When I was a kid, there wasn't no personal space. There wasn't no such thing as that. Kids play with each other. They roll on each other. They do all kind of stuff. Ain't none of them talking about no personal space. That's not natural to have personal space. That somebody told you to have personal space, so you have personal space. But if you can think back to when you were a child, there was no such thing as personal space. Unless somebody said that there was personal space. And then somebody be like, get out of my personal space. And then we start learning as a child, oh, well, there's a invisible boundary around me. That's my space. It's all mine. It's personal. It belongs to me. That's made up. And we act like we actually have personal space. We don't. Well, why don't you have personal space with your woman or with your man? If it's this natural border that's there that nobody should cross, because it's made up. You don't have no personal space when you rabbit dancing. I promise you that. No, you ain't thinking about no personal space. Your space is their space, and their space is your space. And you want to get as close to their space as you can. You don't think about that because it's not natural to have personal space. That's made up. Somebody taught you that. And we agreed to it. Oh, you know what? I do have personal space. But that's not natural for us. That's something that we adopted. Because I can be sitting down, I could be in Ghana sitting down and we're just talking, and I'm sitting there talking to the elder, it could be anybody. And they may put their hand on my thigh. They're not trying to be sexual or something. They ain't coming on to me. Nah, they're just being related. That's all. Just making a connection. That's it. Ain't nothing to that. They're not thinking about that. Totally different cultural context. So disrespect, it's made up, but you have to be in a space where you're choosing whether or not someone has violated something. If somebody stepped on your shoe, that's not disrespect. The reality is they just stepped on your shoe. That's all. But if you can have a conversation with somebody from them just stepping on your shoe and not a conversation from disrespect, it's a totally different conversation. Totally different. And the conversation won't be, man, you disrespected me. It won't be like some type of aggressive reaction. It'll be, oh, you stepped on my shoe. Hey, that doesn't work. It'll be a totally different conversation. And they'll be like, oh man, I'm sorry, but they'll keep going. Being self-aware. So yeah, what else y'all got? And that's not to say that whomever touched you was not being sexual in their encounter with you. It's not to say it wasn't that, but we have to evaluate how you were touched. There's some factors that go into that. Not just be triggered by a touch. And we have to begin to look at how much we have been taken out of our nature. When I go to Ghana, every time I see another way that we've been taken out of our nature. I'm going to Nigeria, I see a whole nother way we've been taken out of our nature. And how it shows up sometimes, but it shows up circumstantially. That's how it shows up. It's not consistent at all. So yeah. Anyway, what else y'all got? All right, cool in the gang. I ain't got nothing else at all. All right, y'all enjoy the homework. It's gonna be a good experience, this homework. And just be like, when you're doing the ritual, take your time. That's the first step in self-awareness, is taking your time. And it doesn't mean, it could take you 30 minutes, it could take you 5 minutes. What I mean by take your time is slow your brain down. Because I can do a ritual quick, but that doesn't mean I'm rushing. I'm rushing when my brain is going 1,000 miles an hour and I'm actually someplace else. I'm not in the ritual. I'm actually where if I'm running late, I'm actually wherever I'm running late to. I'm there. My brain is there. It's not even present with the ritual. That's rushing. Mike, what you got?
Yeah, what type of candles should we get for the ritual?
Oh, good question. Ooh. You want to get 6-inch tapered candles. I'll show you what they look like. Give me a second. This is what they look like.
Got it.
Okay. And when you get your candles, do not get candles that have a fragrance. Get scent-free candles. Make sure of that. Okay. All right, that's all I got. Y'all have a fantastic night. Enjoy the homework. Please.
Thank you.
Any ruler, Chief?
Okay. So it would be, you would say, Nawuni ni tipiao, and that means good night, or that means may God be with you through the night.
Nawuni nitipiao.
Nawuni ni tipiao. And the response is Ami.
Amen.
Ami.
Ami.
Ami. Ami.
Mm-hmm. All right.
We are to be out, Chief.
Nawuni ni tipiao. Ami. All right. See y'all next, what's today, Thursday? See y'all next Thursday.